Russia's Vladimir Putin meeting virtually with China's Xi Jinping yesterday, with Putin looking to strengthen military relations amid his war on Ukraine and ahead of an in-person meeting in the spring. Here to react is senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute, Gordon Chang. Gordon, you say that Xi Jinping and Putin are plotting to basically end, the international system as you know it and as we know it, and form this new alliance. You also say that if this happens, we won't be able to recognize the world. What will that world look like if they succeed?
Yeah. Happy New Year, Rachel. Really, what we'll see is a world divided into spheres of influence, maybe even China ruling the world, because that is Beijing's ambition. So what we have to understand is that this is not just a competition with China and Russia, as President Biden often says. This really is China and Russia trying to take down the international system that's been in place since 1648, and certainly the rules-based order that's been in place since the end of the Second World War. There'll be no freedom, there'll be no democracy, there'll be no human rights if China and Russia get their way.
Yeah, it sounds like they're anticipating some sort of war, that they're planning on aligning for that purpose. Are we ready for that?
We're certainly not ready for it. I mean, we're struggling to deal with the Ukraine situation, which is a war already, despite what the Chinese have been saying. And really, Beijing has been backing Russia to the hilt with these elevated commodity purchases, essentially financing the war. But China also supplying diplomatic, propaganda, financial system, and military assistance. And Biden keeps on warning the Chinese not to supply military help, but they continue to do it, which is a further sign that the international order is breaking down and that we are no longer deterring China.
Yeah, they're not afraid of us, Gordon. I mean, this is what concerns me, that Biden is in charge in this very dangerous period of time in these relations. And he's, has his head in the sand. I mean, look at what's happening in Latin America. He's practically handing over the Western Hemisphere on a platter to the Chinese. So is this happening because Joe Biden is compromised by the Chinese? It makes no sense why the president of the United States wouldn't be doing more to control what's happening in China and to really take the upper hand.
Yeah, well, there is always the
issue
of Hunter Biden. Yeah, I mean, he could very well be. The thing, though, because I'm not in Biden's head, but the thing is that he also believes in the engagement theory that has been in place for 5 decades, and especially since the last 3 decades. This engagement has worked out disastrously for the United States and our friends and partners. And yet Biden still clings to it because he thinks that he can cooperate with China on things like climate change. And although, people may think that climate change is important, you can't cooperate with China on anything, as we're seeing right now with COVID-19.
Well, he certainly cooperated with the Chinese government and the communist Chinese government to enrich his family with Hunter. Gordon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You're always sounding an alarm that we need to listen to.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, and stay safe in a very dangerous 2023.